What's going on? I just want to kind of do a video. It's kind of semi encouragement, for those, out in the struggle, just, trying to keep, you know, one foot, going forward, trying to, take things one day at a time and, overcome all obstacles, trying to achieve, their goals. I just wanted to do like a video to just to kind of remind you, for my hardcore, hardened men that just deal with, basically hell on a day to day basis, or just deal with life, good or bad, on a day to day basis. The thing is that from your hardship, if you do so live, to see the day, um, you're going to be, basically a hardened person that is going to be able to deal with the world. If you're alive right now, you are alive for a reason. You're alive because you are able to survive. A lot of times, people don't really think about the fact that we are, basically organisms no different than any other organism, in the sense that we are trying to survive every single day. And survival is not even guaranteed. A lot of people don't even really think about survival. That's why if you see like a lot of like crime videos, including violent crime, people going in, coming and going from their house or apartment, they're so casual and nonchalant because from some degree or another, they forgot, or the thought that crosses their mind, no thought crosses their mind that someone is out to harm them. Someone is out to, uh basically eliminate their ability to survive. People don't think that, especially women. Like you see that the latest thing is, the video of the White House shooting, and they were having a dinner, in the correspondent, the White House press correspondent, or she, I don't know if she was like she was just basically, I think she worked for like MSNBC or CNN or something. They shooting, and she trying, she literally bewildered. She don't know what the hell is going on. She just sit there like, what's going on? What's going, and you find this a lot, and especially privileged communities. I'll just say privileged communities. Most of, just to be exact, I mean, most of the communities that are privileged in this in the United States is, and when I say privileged, I'm talking about like wealthy suburban, middle class, upper middle class, people. Most of the upper class in America is mostly white. Okay. And you, another instance that you've seen this, if you ever looked up the Highland Park, okay, Highland Park shooting. It's in Highland Park. It was in Highland Park, Illinois. It was a white incel shooter that he basically was shooting on a gay pride parade. And you could see in that video, those people did not know that it was actual gunshots. And they were just bewildered. Their their computing power did not have the resources to compute what was going on. Like, because in their mind, living in, because like, okay, Highland Park is basically in the northern suburbs of Illinois. It's basically, the northern suburbs is one of the richest parts of Illinois. It's where basically a lot of white folks moved up north, and they moved in the suburbs a long time ago, and it's like an enclave. The northern suburbs is like an enclave, primarily that white people that want to live in the Chicagoland area. They it's an old enclave. It's a old money enclave as well. A lot of old money is up in the northern suburbs of Chicago. And Highland Park is one of those suburbs. It's not the richest suburb. It's like a mix of upper class and upper middle class. Okay. Now a lot of a lot the northern suburbs of Chicago has a lot of upper class as well as upper middle class suburbs. A lot. It's like embedded. If you wanted, like most of the entertainers, like or athletes, professional athletes that play for the Bears, the Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, you name it, they live up north in the northern suburbs of Chicago. Like, Caleb Williams, he's got a beachfront property off of I think it was like in Lake Forest, or somewhere up north, and it's like $18 million or something like that. And it's like, yeah, like you got a lot of places like that up north in the Chicagoland area in the suburbs. And they just, when they heard, when back to the shooting, I forgot the dude that actually did the shooting. They just sentenced him for life, like I think about a year ago. They sentenced him for life in prison for that shooting. He did a lot of damage. He killed a lot of people. The people didn't, but if you see that video, they didn't understand what was going on. It was like, I guess to them maybe it was fireworks, because when you live in environments like that, I mean, honestly, most of the shooting and killing that they see on a day-to-day basis or whatever will be on the news, it's not where they live. They're not used to people shooting or gunshots or anything like that. So it took them a while for them to figure out exactly what was going on. Before, I mean, in that process, people were already getting shot. People were losing their lives. I mean, it was even some kids that were losing that lost their life that day. I think he had like an AR-15, multiple magazines. He was just basically unloading on this gay pride parade. And the thing is that, yeah, that's what happens when you live a soft life, a soft privileged life. You're not probably going to be able to deal with hardships like that. You're just not going to be able to deal with it. I mean, I'm not saying that people that live a privileged lifestyle are just all pussies and peons, but I mean, the thing is that um when you're that comfortable, it's very hard to go from comfort to discomfort, especially if you've never really been discomfortable, if you've never really dealt with discomfort. Some people have never really, I mean, I'm not harping on them, I mean, but it's just some people that have been fortunate enough to have never really dealt with any discomfort. They don't, you got some people that grew up privileged. They always had everything they needed. Their basic needs were always met. Even beyond basic needs were always met. Like, you know, they never had to deal with a utility being cut off. The only time they had to deal with utilities being cut off was it was a storm, or it was some type of bad weather, or it was a flood or something like that. Like they never dealt with, oh well, you know, moms or pops gotta wait to Friday to pay the light bill. So we gotta bust out the candles. A lot of people have never dealt with that. They've never never dealt with that. Like they've never dealt with utility bills being cut off, a light refrigerator waiting for Friday, basically living a life where your parents were living check to check. Like they never dealt with that. They never dealt, like some people even worse. Like it's some people that their parents were so poor or their mom was so poor or whatever, that whoever they live with, that they had to go to different schools throughout their childhood because their parents were basically hopping from one place to another, because they couldn't afford to basically pay for rent and just pay for a place to live. So they were bouncing all over the place, going to different schools, and they had to deal with that. Some people parents was on drugs and strung out. It's a lot of stuff. A lot of people just off of by default of being born, they they had to share the struggle. They had to deal with the struggle that their parents were dealing with. And it's like that's something that quite a few people that had to deal with. Some people, they find out when they get older that their parents were kind of making things look easy, but it actually wasn't easy. you know um Basically because of how the economy was from the boomers, and even silent generation, uh a lot of millennials and Gen Xers, uh um they don't they don't have they're not as prosperous as their parents were. Some Gen X and millennials, their parents had a more successful financial life than they did, especially for Gen Xers and millennials that have never went finished college. If they didn't get a degree, most likely their parents have had so far a better financial um, life than what they had, because primarily because in the 19 okay, basically from the 1950s to, let's just say, the 80s or even 70s, just the how things was just, things were the cost of living was just not that high. So you could work at a factory and be able to basically take care of a family of five. Back in the 1980s, 1970s, things were cheap. Like in the 70s, you could buy a used car. I mean, people weren't making that much, but you could buy a used car for $100, and it actually ran. It'll last for a long time, and you might have to clean the carburetor out a little bit, but you can buy a car and drive off with $100. Houses were definitely less than 50 grand, for the most part less than even $20,000. Gas was cheap, everything was relatively low cost. Now, of course, people weren't getting paid that much. I mean, minimum wage wasn't that much, but the cost of living was so low, the money that they were making back then, they were able to pay for, housing. Um, most of what millennials, Gen Z, or anybody right now, what what's kicking people's behinds right now is shelter. Cars, not really. Okay, cars, no, not really. Like food, people complain about food, but food is really, yeah, you might not, if you've noticed, you probably noticed it hasn't been that many barbecues. The barbecues is kind of light. If you notice, like, I remember in the 80s and 90s, man, my mom used to my mom used to literally, she used to buy so much meat from the grocery store and have a barbecue. The whole block, the entire block would be fed. I mean, like ribs, steaks, hamburgers, hot dogs. Of course, my mom made some good potato salad, coleslaw, spaghetti, what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it was just set out. Like it was, you know, it was like ribs galore, bone in, boneless ribs, steaks, hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken. I mean, all parts of the chicken. You know what I'm saying? Now, man, you can't people, average person can't even really, to be honest, afford to do a barbecue. And if they do a barbecue, it's probably for like a few people, or if not, just their own family, or it might even be a personal barbecue. If you live by yourself or whatever. Like, I mean, people are just not like, people barbecuing now, like the average person barbecuing now, like they barbecuing drums and shit. Legs, you know what I'm saying? They you go to somebody's house, man, watch them, you see them barbecuing, they got motherfucking legs and maybe some wings on the fucking, you know what I'm saying, on the grill. They can't afford breasts and whole chickens and shit. Like, motherfuckers barbecuing drums. You know what I'm saying? Legs. Legs is like the cheapest part of the chicken. You know what I'm saying? Like, they barbecuing legs, dark meat basically. Dark meat is cheaper than white meat, right? So like motherfuckers is barbecuing thighs and legs and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's today's economy. You know what I'm saying? But people gonna eat, they gonna find a way to, make it. But what's kicking people in the butt, it's not food, it's not transportation. Um Medical costs is very, medical costs is medical costs has been kicking people in the teeth for decades now. But even medical costs, okay, all right, well, it's just gonna go on my credit, medical file, whatever, boom, okay, I can deal with it. But what's really kicking people in the teeth, in the head, is shelter. Shelter costs is the most expensive it's ever been. Okay. Even in the Chicagoland area, houses are now creeping up to $1 million. Like, I've seen someone on Facebook, um sh- showing a Facebook post of a property, like a renovated kind of McMansion, and they wanted $1 million for it. I remember that same house would probably be like $500,000 a decade ago. Just a decade ago, it would be like $500,000 or $600,000, maybe top 600,000. That same house, they won $1 million. They won about 999,000 for it now. And that's just the times. Like, you know, to think about that you would have to get $1 million home. Um, you'd have that was for rich people. That was for well-to-do people, for you to have a mortgage and it's $1 million plus. Average person, like I remember my mom was like she was going through it, and the house, the mortgage was like $150,000. Imagine if it was like 1 point something million. And the reason why it was such a tough time, because it was like she was sick, and uh she, the taxes also went up. The taxes went up to the point where the mortgage, it was it was like, first it was like $1,000, then the taxes went up, and it was like it went from $1,000 to like $1,500. And that's a big jump. And it's like, yeah, like $1 million, that's like, freaking $15,000, $10,000, or at least eight. It depends on the interest rate and the taxes. But you know, that's a lot of money to pay for a mortgage for a house. And it also depends on the down payment. But the thing is like, yeah, housing costs is kicking people in the teeth. I mean, like literally, like, so you can't go work at a factory and make 18 bucks an hour, and expect to basically qualify for a mortgage, let alone pay for a mortgage. I mean, you'll be hard pressed. You probably have to work two jobs. You probably have to, it's dudes that they got a factory job, and then they maybe do DoorDash, or they do Uber, or they got another job at another factory, or they work at a gas station or something like that. And they hardly ever home, because they working from they work a 9 to 5, and then they work basically, they got two full-time jobs. They work from 9 to 5, and then they get off, and then they work a night shift somewhere, where they're working from like 5 to 12 at night. And then they come home, everybody sleep. They the kids might hear daddy, going through the kitchen, fixing them something to eat or something like that. But like, he's doing that, and he's got to get right back up to go work at the factory in the morning. He's got like 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and he's got to hit it again. He might have like weekends off, or maybe he might work the night job or whatever on the weekend sometimes, or like, it varies. But then the factory closes on the weekend. And he's, what I'm saying, like, it just, that's what some people do, man, because they don't make enough from their first job. you know they have to work two jobs just to make it, just to make ends meet. What I'm saying? So it's yeah, shelter is kicking everybody's butt, and it's really nothing too much that can be done. um it's an economic thing. It's just with inflation, everything going up. And a lot of people don't really make that much. A lot of, the on the internet, people have you believe that everyone's making $100,000 a year, and they got, $500,000 in their bank account. That's what people act like on the internet. The average person, that's what they act like. The internet, everyone's rich or well to do. And in reality, that's far from the case. Far from the case. One of the things that I found out on YouTube is a lot of bums. It's a lot of bums on YouTube. You got to think about it, right? All you need is Wi-Fi, and really, to be honest, Obama cell phone, which Obama cell phone is basically, it's a government phone. They still have government phones. Like, if you make less than a certain amount of money, or if you get a welfare card, or something like that, a food stamps card, you automatically qualify for an Obama phone, a government phone. So you can get, I remember, I, I remember when they used to give out Obama phones. I ain't gonna lie, I had one. I had a couple. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna cap to you. You know what I'm saying? Um, back in, back in my 30s, I had a Obama phone or two. Late 20s. But I remember when they used to give out these Obama phones, right? And they weren't smartphones. They were just like flip phones, or they were just basically phones that were just for talking and texting for the most part. Now the Obama phones are smartphones now. They give you go get you an Obama phone now, you get you an Android with internet capabilities. So you can literally you can literally get an Obama phone. You could be a total bum and be just, have access to some type of Wi-Fi, and you could be on the internet all day every day. Like when I used to, coming up, before the internet, before social media, before all of this, YouTube, everything, bums hung out in front of buildings, basically a corner or a liquor store, apartment building, and they hung out. That's what they did. They might have chairs. If it was cold outside, you might, in Chicago, you might see a like a oil barrel or something, like like some type of metal barrel. They'll use that for a campfire. They'll put like some wood in it and then light it up and then get heat, and they'll just be hanging around. They'll be hanging around this fire, this barrel, this fire in the barrel to get some type of warmth. They'll be sitting there drinking, talking about the good old days or whatever. Well, now, I mean, you still have people to do that, but now you have bums have the option to get an Obama phone and then get Wi-Fi access and just be on YouTube all day and be on YouTube panels. So basically, like what I found out is that the the bums have basically infiltrated the internet. They're on YouTube. So you might have entire YouTube panels where it's just basically bums that were, they don't have to hang out on the, front of the stoop or, on the corner store or whatever. They just hang out on the YouTube panel. And then eventually, I mean, the the YouTube, whoever runs the show or the panel or the channel or whatever, he's gonna complain because it's like you bums, like you're joining a panel, and what I'm saying, you're talking and all this, but you never donate, to this channel. I mean, you wanna you wanna hang out on my stream yard, and and you wanna, this channel to exist, and I have to pay for my Wi-Fi bill, even though I think, yeah, if you get you get free internet, I believe, if you are low income too. So that's another thing. Like, you get, if you low income, if you like in poverty, well, let's just say it right. If you're a bum, you can get free internet. You can get a free Obama phone, and you can get free internet. So but you got some, most people, I would say, they probably pay for their internet, right? Like me, I mean, I have Xfinity, basically, you know, and the thing is, I use that for work and other things. It's not like I just, just do YouTube. But the thing is like, yeah, the guys will be like, man, dude, this channel to run everything, I do need a little bit of money, even for the time and effort. Like, I mean, I do want a cash app or a super chat, every now and again. I'm not saying you gotta do it every day, but I mean, I do want to be, compensated. I do need, I want my channel to grow and, get more sound effects, soundboards, and better microphone, better equipment, better studio, a better studio background or studio in itself to even have a studio. I want to invite guests. Some guests they charge money. That's a big thing now. Like, all of these internet people like Charleston White. I think Charleston White, he charges like $10,000 an interview. You got different people, man. They want something to actually go to actually for you for them to do a collab with you. They have a collab fee. Um, and it's like, man, I mean, I want to do all these things, but you guys are not supportive because basically they're internet bums, e-bums. And it's like, yeah, the bums are not just on the corner anymore. They're on YouTube panels now. So I mean, I know this is another thing. This is another reason to hate the broke genius. I know I be over the years. I understand the low engagement. I understand because I come on here every now and again, and I have been throughout the years religiously kicking you dudes in the throat, kicking you broke bums in the throat, in the chest with hardcore reality and realism, and you hate it. You got some people that they mom and dad might have been a bum, and they don't believe that there's a way out of them being a bum. Some people actually, believe it or not, some people actually believe in their deep subconscious that they will never be financially successful and they will always be a poor bum. I mean, I swear to God, it's a lot of people like this, and it's across all racial lines. It's just just how people are subconsciously programmed. But the thing is that yeah, that's what you have on YouTube now. You have quite a few individuals that are just basically bums. You don't know. They behind an avatar usually, or even not behind an avatar. It doesn't matter. Avatar, no avatar. Like, they're bums. You could actually see how they live. You could see bunch of clothing in the background, and I mean, it is what it is. But the thing is that as far as the topic is concerned, I just wanted to just say that for men and women, because men and women could be stoics, okay? It's not just a male thing or whatever. It's men and women are you know either, most people are forced to be stoics. Like, for myself, I'm no different. I was forced to be a stoic. I was forced to be a stoic a long time ago. Most people are forced into it. And it's a thing where I think most people that are stoics are forced into it. They had no choice. Like, to survive, they had to basically deal with life and dealing with a hardcore life, usually coming from a lack of finances. Usually that's a strong indicator that you're gonna have to lean into stoicism because, see, here's the thing: this is a capitalistic world, and because it's a capitalistic world, you need capital. to make it in this world. And when you are dealing with the lack of capital, which a lot of people are, it's a hard life. It's just a hard, uncomfortable existence. And a lot of people, they might, that's why people go to jail or go do crimes and stuff, because in a way they trying to be comfortable. They trying to find a way to be comfortable. Robbing a purse, robbing an ATM, stealing a car and taking it to the chop shop for $500. Um, you can, with no job, right? Obviously, no job prospects, maybe even a record. That's a way that you'll have money in your pocket. Now, the risks are very high because you get caught, you go to jail or prison, and you're gonna have to what? You're gonna have to lean into stoicism even more, even more extreme. And then it's even worse because now you have no capability of making any money. Almost zero to no capability of making any money. And you have to give precious time and freedom um, of your life because you have gotten caught, doing some type of crime. And the thing is that I get it. I understand why people do those things, right? Do all of the things to try to make money. I get it. I totally understand it. I stay away from it because the thing is that you playing a dirty game. The risk doesn't, in my opinion, outweigh the reward, because you got to understand what's worth prison time. And that's what you got to ask yourself. What is it like? Okay, to do a day in prison, how much would you charge someone to do a day in prison, or an hour? Fuck a day, an hour in prison. How much would you charge someone? Like, people ask me, when I was doing computer, I haven't done a computer service call in years. But when I used to do them, my last charge was about $175 to go to someone's house, and that was for a few hours. And I could fix more than one of their computers, up to a certain amount, like usually like one or two. They had two computers. I could, resurrect them and bring them back to life for that $175. Um, usually it was like something that took like 2 hours. So what? I'm making like 80, $85 an hour. Okay. Now you gotta think about it. Um, how much would you charge someone to do an hour in prison? Would it be $100 an hour, $1,000 an hour? Like, lawyers, you know, believe it or not, lawyers and doctors, primarily lawyers, a really good lawyer, they have exorbitant enough fees, like very, very high fees. Like I'm talking, you know, $1,500 an hour, $2,000 an hour. Because they're good. They're good at what they do. They have a reputation. They charge millions of dollars for high profile clients to get them off of certain charges. They charge a lot of money. Now, when you think about it, to do time in prison, how much would you charge someone? That's what you got to ask yourself. How much would you like? A fair price to me? I've never been to prison. Don't want to go. I've been to jail. In prison is worse than jail. Um, so the thing is, I would have to say that to do prison time for an hour, I would have to be like, it would have to be like, man, it'd have to be $5,000 an hour, maybe even $10,000 an hour. And then you got to understand, any time in prison, you can lose your life. They have, people can rape you, people can shank you with a shank. There's all kinds of things that they could do to make a shank. People make shanks out of toothbrushes. I mean, so the chances of using you losing your life is high. You probably getting even raped is high. It's a lot of stress. Some people would probably rather be on a battlefield in Ukraine than be in prison. That's how bad prison is. In some are worse than others. But here's the thing, right? Now think about that, and then think about you going to do something stupid and then getting prison time. You rob a liquor store and you get, 800 bucks. Then you get caught, and then the judge gives you 8 years in prison, 2 years in prison. Who gives a shit? 5 years, a year in prison, or a year. Let's just say, give you 18 months in prison, which is like a year and some change. Like, yeah, like obviously that wasn't worth 800 bucks. The fucking risk doesn't outweigh. I mean, the reward doesn't outweigh the risk. So it's a thing where stoicism is something that people lean on in hard times. People are even, I would say, most people are forced into stoicism primarily because of their lot in life and or just their circumstances. Some people have had money and then lost it, and you know had a hardship or whatever, and they had to deal with it. Like, here's the thing, right? I know a lot of people. I know quite a few people personally. I was, we were, I mean, best of friends at one time. People went their way, but a friend of mine called me and he told me about a friend of ours. Now I'm sounding like the mob. A friend of ours, right? Well, a friend of ours, because we were both friends. Like, basically, I met him, and then I met my friend that called me, and then he introduced me to his friend that I'm talking about right now. And my friend called me, and I just call this dude. I call him. Just call him Greg. Okay. Um, my friend told me Greg is going through it with his ex-wife. I mean, not his ex-wife, his current wife. And Greg is a successful entrepreneur. Greg Greg is basically a millionaire. He does some type of like networking or cabling of some sorts, and he does it for basically commercial applications, and he's very good at what he does. He actually has employees. His wife manages it with him, and Greg um is going through it with his wife because she's doing whatever she wants to do, and also including taking some of the business funds and spending it on whatever she wants to spend it on. And my friend informed me that Greg's wife has taken over the course of some period of time over $700,000 from the business, from him, from what he made, right? Uh and that shit blew my mind. That shit tripped me the hell out. And it's like, this is what trips me out, right? About that. That $700,000 that his wife is spending on has spent You know, that's money I dream about. That's money that I'm trying to get off of a fucking parlay. That's money. That's enough money that I can get into the conversation and think about actually setting myself up to, basically go on my own. Resign from my job. That's enough money in the Chicagoland area for sure. That's enough money for me to buy the house that I'm in now, buy me another house where I want to live, and I'll still have, give or take, about $200,000. I got 100,000 to get to put in about 150,000 to put in my brokerage. Not quite comfortable enough to quit my job, but I can kind of set myself up to where I can eventually probably say 6 months or less, or even more, maybe a year, 6 months to a year. I can definitely see myself, basically resigning and just going full time into investing. you know One house I can, set up for Airbnb, or a rental, long-term rental, or even Section 8 rental, whatever. And I can net profit. I can net profit from that. Then with the stock market, because I'm pretty good at trading. I'm better at trading than probably anything. As far as my skill sets, like IT, definitely. IT and trading is probably some of my best money making skill sets. Like, if I had to put everything on the table, I'd have to say my top skill sets is definitely trading, investing. You could even just say, and basically IT, because I've been doing it for so long. I went to school for it. It's part of my it's just one of my bread and butters that I've been working in IT for almost 20 years now. So I know quite a bit about it. You know, it's been part of my life so long that it's second nature to me. So the thing is that basically, um, that's the type of money I fucking dream about. And here in reality, in someone else's reality that I know this guy. I know his mom. Um, I know his family. You know, we kind of drifted. It's like one of those things where, he kind of stayed locally. I went away to school, then came back, then went away to the military, to the Navy, and I just pretty much kind of went, a different direction to where everybody else that I went to high school with, that I went to college, because I went to college before I went to the Navy. When I was in the Navy, after I got out of boot camp, I had rank. I was like, I was an E2 after boot camp, because I had college credit already. I was a E3 in 9 months, because I went from an E2 to an E3 relatively quickly. So by the time I got out of boot camp, I was an E3 in 9 months after boot camp. But because I had college credit. If you got a college degree, you can go be an officer. You can just go to officer candidate school, and could be an officer if you want. You don't have to, because I remember it was a dude that was in my barracks, that he's part of my division in boot camp, and he had a degree. He had a bachelor's degree, and it was just strange to me, because I was like, why you ain't trying to be an officer? I mean, that's your maximum, and the officers make more money than enlisted. So I just, that's what he wanted to do. But anyway, long story short, like, um, basically, um, when it comes down to it, your life is just, it's going to be challenging if you don't come from money. If your parents are as far away from money, as they could possibly be, you're gonna have, that's how hard life is gonna be for yourself. Generally speaking, unless you hit the ground running. Like if you hit the ground running where you just attack life, and you make a way for yourself, you lock in on some type of career or job, and you work it knowing that you don't have anybody to help you, and you saving your money, you stacking it, and making good financial decisions, you might be able to be, you know, you'll be the family member that has everything, you know, going. You'll be basically everybody, either, even in, let's just say, broke families. I probably need to do a video about broke families. I never did a video about broke families, but that is a thing. There's entire families that's broke. The grandma broke, the granddad broke, the aunt broke, the uncles broke, you know, cousins broke, everybody just busted. It is. I mean, I know. I mean, tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. I'm not making this shit up. I mean, reality is reality. I don't like this reality, but it's not much I can do about it. But the thing is that, yeah, like even in broke families, you have one person possibly out of that family, or a couple people, that they got money. They might even be millionaires. Um, if not, they got a lot of liquid cash available, and also credit. And that's the family member that everybody relies on to pay for stuff. And somebody die, put a big portion in the hat on the funeral, and that's what you'll be in that scenario. But you gotta, obviously hit the ground running, and don't look back in that scenario, because when you don't have any room for mistakes in that scenario, because it's nobody there to help you. If you coming from a family that basically doesn't have much, you ain't got no safety nets. It's like you fucking jump out the plane without a parachute. You don't have any parachute, so you probably don't want to jump out the plane. I mean, you might want to stay in the plane because you don't have a parachute. It's like one of those type of things. You can't jump out the plane because your parachute, you don't have one. And you can't do certain things. You can't take a bunch of risks, and you can't be the town drunk or none of that. You just gotta be kind of straight laced, and squared up, because you don't have anybody to save you. I mean, that's my scenario. I mean, I don't really have much to, basically, as far as any safety nets. All my safety nets have passed away. I mean, once you start getting like in your 40s and 50s, people just start dying. Like, I remember when I was in high school, I started to notice some of my like friends, their parents start dying. Because when you're in high school, typically your parents is like in their 40s. Might even be in their 50s, depending on when they had you. Like one of my homies, he actually died not too long ago. He died like, well, they were twins. But I don't know I haven't talked to the other twin, or know where he's at, but like, yeah, his mom and dad had him, like they were like late babies, and his sister and brothers, like they was in their late 20s when he was in high school. So his parents, when he was in high school, they was already in their 50s. And first First his mama died. Think his mom died of like cancer or something. I don't know. But they be, when you eating all that pork, like when you eating all that pork and all of that, just meat in general. Like one of the things about meat and pork, especially pork, they have worms. Okay. One of the things that I know about cancer that I didn't know years ago is that is a lot of diseases are based off of intestinal worms and parasites. So literally, the how you attack cancer is if you'll most likely be successful at attacking cancer or even preventing cancer by attacking intestinal worms and parasites. I kid you not. I'm not making this shit up. Yeah, I'm I'm not the broke genius anymore. I'm just a genius, but yeah, I actually know some shit. You know, um, and you read reports in science. They will support that. It is a linkage between cancer and parasites. But I don't know. Like they don't cancer. Cancer is a it's like a multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar industry. So the medical cartel makes a lot of money off of cancer treatment. So it would be behoove them to keep that going. I'll just say it like that. But the thing is that yeah, when I was when I was young, when I was in high school, I started to notice certain people's parents, like a small portion of people, their parents passed away, and the twins, the twins I was cool with, they mom passed away, and I was like, damn, because I was in like I was a junior high school or a senior high school, and then somebody's mom passed away. It was crazy, and then they dad passed away. And the dad and the mom was only in their like late 40s or early 50s. And they already passed away. And by the time you get to your like 40s, I would even say 30s, 40s, it's a good chance either your dad pass away or your mom gonna pass away. You might have one parent left. You might have both parents that's gone away. By the time when you get in your 40s, it's a good chance your grandma is probably gone. When you get in your 40s, definitely your great grandma is already gone. Your great granddad, your great granddad. Like my great grandfather, I never met my great grandfather. He had already died before I was born. He died. My great granddad died in the 70s, and I never met my grandparents on my dad's side. My grandparents on my dad's side, I think they died. I don't know when they died, but they died probably when I was a little boy, or even probably before I was born, or something like that. They died in Ghana. Um, so it was like basically, yeah, people. The older you get, man, people start dying off. Like if you did have some type of support system, your support system might fall off. Your support system might die. You know what I'm saying? And you in that scenario, your back is against the wall. You don't have any support system. You are the support system. So I mean, I say all of that to say that, you know, I mean, life is very, very difficult. Even if you have money, it doesn't necessarily mean, okay, let's just say you got $10 million. It's not gonna it's not it's life is still a struggle even if you're rich or wealthy, because you still okay, you got money, but you might have maybe some health issues or a health scare. I mean, you still gonna get sick. You still gonna get the flu. You still gonna get diarrhea. Um, you still are going to have depressed days and stuff like that. Even being up millions of dollars. You think a millionaire or billionaire doesn't get sad some days? You know what I'm saying? Um, you get, you know, one of the things that I found out, and I've been knew this, but it was kind of confirmed to me on a video. I saw a video on X of a pop machine that's like from a restaurant, and one of the things, if you eat a lot of fast food, if you ever wondered why you get diarrhea so much, or why you eat fast food and then you get diarrhea, um a lot of it is not necessarily the food, the actual, like let's just say you go to Burger King and you get a combo meal and it comes with a drink, right? Well, you get diarrhea, and you're like, damn, I don't that I hate this. You blame it, you first blame it on fast food, right? But then you thinking, oh, it's the burger and it's the fries. No. The pop machine, here's the thing about what people don't understand about pop machines. First of all, I mean, the corn syrup, that's bad, obviously, but that's not what's necessarily giving you diarrhea. Um, what's giving you diarrhea from these combo from eating at these restaurants is, so that pop machine, it's a machine that's mixed with corn syrup from the liquid that make the pop, you know, and it's mixed with tap water. It's not that that pop machine at McDonald's, KFC, Popeyes, Burger King, Wendy's, whatever, you name it. It's not coming from filtered water. It's coming from tap water. And here's the thing that I had to understand late about tap water. You can't, even in America, as fancy, as stuck up as we think we are, as bougie as we think we are in America, and so high society that we think in America, you can't just drink out of a tap water. You can't, I don't care where you are, you can't just go and drink tap water. You can't, because those pipes are, if it's so many bacteria or even bacterium in that water, it is unsafe to drink without you getting some type of disease, or if not diarrhea, or even may even be worse. You can't do it. You can't do it. Like, you have to have some type of filter in North America, to filter your water. I don't care if it's reverse osmosis, some type of alkaline machine, or some type of filter. You have to have that to drink water in America. I'll give you a tip. What I'm saying, I'll give you a life hack. You don't have to necessarily filter the water. This is what you could do. You get you a big jug, and you get some lemons, and you cut the lemons up. Preferably, if you could, remove the seeds, but you don't necessarily have to. It's a lazy way if you don't remove the seeds, but you don't necessarily have to remove the seeds. But you're gonna have seeds that's gonna be popping. But see, it's a little annoying. But the thing is you put about two, at least two slices of lemon in this water. From you put, you could put tap water in it, and you let that tap water and that those lemons soak for about 24 hours. And after 24 hours, that lemon is going to filter, is going to basically make the water acidic. And when the water becomes acidic, anything that's living in that water, whatever there is, parasites that's in the water, worms, they're going to die because the water is too acidic for them to survive. And also, if you're smart like I am, you already know that makes the water also alkaline. That's the one of the cheapest ways to actually make, not only purify water, but also have alkaline water. And you could do that and you won't need any filter whatsoever. Now, it doesn't work on dirty fucking water like swamp water. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from the tap. But like, if you got really really dirty bad water, you can make a home filter, you know, like a little camping filter, where you just basically you get some type of tube or something. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to need a combination of sand, clay, or actually charcoal, sand, charcoal, small fine rocks, and then like medium sized rocks, and like a coffee filter. Okay. And you'll have the coffee filter on the bottom, and it'll go like a little filter on the bottom, a layer of charcoal, and then above the layer of charcoal is small rocks, and then above that layer is sand, and then above that layer is the medium sized rocks. And then um you'll have like the top portion of the coffee filter liner, and then you can use that to make like an emergency filter or emergency water filter. Or just go to fucking fucking any store and get you a goddamn Brita filter or some type of filter, and then be done with it. Like, they got filters that they give you the filter, and then they also, as far as a bonus, they'll give you a water tester to see how contaminated your water is, because it goes like by parts per million. So if you had, like, I have this tester somewhere. I got it. I don't know where it is, but basically you put it in the water and it'll tell you the water quality, how contaminated the water is. Like, let's just say if the water is, I think if it's below like zero point 0.2 or something like that, uh parts per million, it's like the least contaminant. If it's zero, it's even, that's the best, right? Because that means it's hardly any, if not any contaminations. But yeah, you get that, and then that's how you deal with that, because you can't drink tap water, even in America. Even as far, however, like, America is not, nor have I ever think it's been this utopia where everybody's just rich, the whole lifestyle, the whole America's just balling out of control and everybody's rich. It could be that way, but you have a system that you have the oligarchs up top, the plutocrats, and everyone in between. And basically, they don't give a fuck about it. It's just like any other country. Like, they don't give a fuck about like the average person. I think this country maybe at one time did care more about the average person, But now these new age like wealthy individuals, they don't give a shit about nobody. You know what I'm saying? They like they don't give a shit about nobody. Like, and the thing is like basically a lot of things are just kind of like, it's kind of like we would have a lot more things going on, but it's just the way society is. It's like every man for himself in America. That's just how things are. America is not the only country that's like that. It's other countries, of course, that are like that. But you go to like Japan, people don't have that every man for themselves concept. Like they're a communal group concept. So they take pride in cleaning. They take pride in group cleaning. They take pride in group efforts. You know what I'm saying? And they want the best for everyone in society. Now, of course, I mean, Japanese society is pretty, homogeneous. It's kind of one block of people. It's a couple different categories, but basically, America's, all over the place. They call it a melting pot. So everybody really don't care about each other. It's like every man for himself. Um, the white people don't like they don't like anybody. They don't even really like white people. The Mexicans, white people, they get a lot of shit from white folks. They get a lot, Hispanics get a lot of shit from white folks. They got to deal with black folks, and you know probably Asians. They probably get along better with Asians maybe, but then Asians, they don't get along. They kiss up to white people, but white people don't really accept them, and they make fun of them. They make it hard for them in the many occasions, but they deal with them, or they deal with each other. But it's just, all of these different ethnic groups. It's all of these different ethnic groups is some separation from one, from one another, and they all don't want. It's like they all don't want, you know um they have a struggle with group efforts because every man for themselves. And it's like, I'm gonna get mine, you better get yours type of thing. And it's like, yeah, like that's the reason why we don't have universal health care, or taxpayer health care, as far as widespread, where it's just basically, um let's just say, socialist healthcare, to where we're already taxed for it, and then everybody has healthcare, like Canada, the UK, a lot of European countries. We don't have universal healthcare to where you could just go in the hospital and then basically wait or whatever to go see a doctor, and then when you go see the doctor, you're not charged because you work and you've already paying taxes, and that is already taken out. So the doctor, when in essence, will be getting paid by the government. you know um and the thing is that that's the reason why that is not the case. That's the reason why we don't have bullet trains. That's the reason why we don't have a lot of things. Like like I can show you in the downtown Chicago area where people live in like third world country. It's like it's certain parts in America is like third world. And it's primarily because people don't really care. Every man for themselves. And that kind of sets that sets the entire society back, because it's only going to be so much for so many people, and it depending on what enclave that you live in, or what ethnic group that you belong to, or whatever type of shit. So that's just kind of how that works. But um the thing is that overall, dealing with all of that, dealing with life on a day-to-day basis, um, being a stoic helps. A lot of people don't have any choice but to be a stoic. Not knowing anything about stoicism and Greek philosophy and Epicureanism and um, basically um, hedonism and all of that type of stuff. The thing is that eventually, I believe a lot of Stoics will eventually um, be able to inherit some type of wealth, or even riches. They'll be able to handle it. They like it. They will survive to the point where, you know, they will be around to inherit whatever's left. They will be around to inherit, whatever's left. And they'll be able to handle it. I would even say because they're used to hardships and they're used to dealing with things. Like I really think to a certain extent, I'm not 100% on it, but I think that to a certain degree, like God does not want to just give you just this abundance of wealth or riches, because at one particular point of your time or your life you might kill yourself. Because if you had that, like let's just say a person that is getting high, and I'm talking about hard white and all of that type of stuff. You get this person $1 million, they're gonna kill themselves. They just gonna get so high that they're gonna die. I mean, like, because they just gonna have a unlimited amount of money to just get as high as they possibly can. They'll basically obliterate themselves. If not, they already have obliterated themselves. They'll obliterate themselves even more. And I think that to a certain extent, there's some type of divine um protection to a certain extent from you being able to destroy yourself. To because I think because I know how it is when you get up. I know that experience when you up, like you won a few $1,000s or something, right? Because I kind of get like this when I hit a big parlay or something. Like if I hit something, it's like if I make over $2,000, which I've done, a few times, and you just feel to a certain degree for a day or two, you kind of feel invisible a little bit. Like you feel like you can almost be there, if not already you're there to a certain extent, because you had an influx. You made a decent amount of money. Probably, you might have had a good run for a good week or two or whatever, and then you feel kind of invisible, and then obviously you up by a couple grand. You're gonna increase your bet size now. You're normally betting $10, now you're betting 25 and $30 and shit like that, 40. And it's like, yeah, and then it eventually comes back down. But the thing is that that's how a lot of people are when they get rich. When they get some money, they you feel invisible, in the sense of you can't do no wrong. Like money comes effortlessly. Like it's like, you have so much of it. It's like, oh, I'll just go and fly a plane right now. And then, you just start doing dumb shit because you feel like you can't do no wrong. Like you floating. And that's to a certain degree um what a lot of people experience. You just and that's why a lot of people go broke too, because you think that you're invisible but you're really not. You several moves over a period of time, you'll be back in the same scenario, if not worse. And you don't even think of it like that. You're not to the point where you you got $1 billion or $100 million. You just got 10,000 bucks, buddy. That's all you got. Now you talking about you want to go take a vacation, you want to go buy you a chain, you want to go buy you a car and all this shit. And it's like, dude, and then about 3 to 6 months later, 3 to 6 months later, you broke. You like, damn. You scratching your head like, where did this go? But you thought you was up. You thought you was floating. It's like, nah, no, I mean, that's just how you think. That's the human mind. You think that this surplus is not something that you used to. So your mind believes that anything is possible, like, or I don't know, some crazy thoughts of, you can't do no wrong, but the thing is that, yeah, I do believe that Stoics that have had hardship will eventually, like, I think they hold the key to the future. I think they hold the key to success in the future. They went through the fire. They went through a lot of pain, and discomfort, and when they see that door opening to success, and they have the possibility to having more of a lifestyle that they want to live. Eventually, I think that they will appreciate that, and then they will be definitely humbled, and they'll basically hold on to that, like, and basically they will settle into that, and then having flashbacks and thoughts of the days where, it's like some people have had it worse than others. Like me, I've never been homeless. I've never had to deal with homelessness. I don't have any stories of sleeping in my car. No, I've never slept in my car, or none. I don't have any stories like that. I always, at the very least, I could depend on a family member, um, maybe even a friend. But I never even really had to rely on no friend. I've had family, and I could just, basically live with family for a while, and then till I can get on my feet, and I always get on my feet. So, like, basically, I never had to deal with homelessness. But I mean, many times I've dealt with, evictions and stuff like that. I mean, you know, the thing is like, uh when it comes down to it, you have to move forward after a loss. You have to, you know get up and keep marching. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is that some people have had to deal with homelessness. Some people had to sleep outside and shit like that. I mean, like, if you ain't got no car, like, you gotta think about it. Some people they don't have no car. If you got if you got you homeless, either, like, it's like people that they have had no car. They went through a financial situation or whatever, and they just didn't have a car at the time. And then you got some people, they have a car, but the car don't even run. It's just a stationary car that they have, some type of access to, and they sleep in the car. Some people have a car, that drives or whatever. But then what happens if, you know, someone, the city tows their car away, or they park somewhere in a private lot somewhere, and then their car gets towed, and they already struggling financially. They don't got no money to get their car. Now they homeless without a car. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like stuff like that can happen. Like, and people have overcame that. Like some of the most successful people that I listen to or follow or whatever, they have had homeless stories. They have had them, and now they millionaires. You know, um, they investors or whatever. Most of the people I follow are investors, either real estate, stocks, companies, but business, something like that. So like the thing is, yeah, some people have had to deal with homelessness, and I just know from what even my uncle was homeless. My uncle, my grandma kicked him out because he wasn't going to school, and he was just partying and shit, and my grandma kicked his ass out, and he was sleeping on friends couches and wherever he was basically he's homeless. And I think that I think when you hit rock bottom like that, it does make you harden, make you harden to the point where you reach rock bottom. You have pretty much been out in the wild, and you know how tough it is, and you know it's do or die, and basically you work hard. You gonna continue to work hard, and you're gonna make it, and you're gonna be successful. Like he got more money than most of his peers. I mean, like he got got credit, good credit, you know a whole bunch of money saved, and retirement and all of that shit. Got houses. It's not like he got a lot. He just did, just made the right decisions at the right time, and worked every day. You can just In America, you can just get up every day and go to work, and have a 401k, maybe an IRA, or like one of those things Alonzo Hall sells, like the what do they call those things? What's the name of those damn insurance? It's like I forgot what this called, but I think it's called like a universal something, like index fund plan or something. It's basically kind of like you basically put in a way you're funding up to like 50 grand or something, and then the policy is being like your funds is being invested on the market, and you get, like, after it reaches a maturity date, you start getting money every month, like, or something like that. And like you get like $5,000 a month or something like that. It's a UIL, I think it's called. It's a UIL. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, you get like one that you get you a 401k. Companies, a lot of companies don't have pensions anymore. There's very few companies that have like pensions, but the post office has pensions. Like police officers, fire department. You work for the fire department, they have pensions. But like, yeah, you all you gotta do, like, a lot of people just if you steal. work a job like 20 or 30 years, you'll have you'll have like a unlimited pension. You know, like even in the military, if you do 20 years, you do 20 years in the military, you'll get a retirement check for the rest of your life. You'll get like, couple grand or like 3 grand or something like that for like a month for the rest of your life. You got guys that go in when they 18, they get out at 39, and they got a retirement check for the rest of their life. And they just work a job, and then they got $3,000 coming in every month. Like, so you can just do that, and then you could be a millionaire. I mean, you gonna take a chunk out of your life. 20 years is a long time. 30 years, like you're gonna be 50, 40, you're gonna be 50, 60 years old, depending on how old you are, but you're gonna have you're gonna have a nice, you know, surplus, for the rest of your life, like that is equivalent to $1 million, Um and it's like, yeah, like it doesn't take much. You buy, like, all my uncle got is he just retired. He got a retirement check, and he's got a rental, like a Section 8 rental that he gets, probably like uh $1,200 every month for that, you know. And he's got stellar credit, like real good credit, he can get $100,000 credit line, $50,000. Like, he's very frugal. He's very frugal, you know. He's a, what do they call it? A miser. He's a miser. And I he recently in the Chicagoland area, it was like even in Northwest Indiana, it was like it was tornadoes and a bad storm like a week ago, and a lot of down trees. I mean, like, trees messed up apartment buildings, houses, bunch of cars, and then it was a tornado, or heavy winds, and it tore roofs off the apartment buildings and stuff. And it's like, yeah, one of the trees, it fell on his car, on his car, on his truck, and I was laughing at him. I was like, I mean, not laughing at him. I was telling him, I was like, you can go buy whatever car you want. It ain't no car that you. I mean, well, I mean, just like if you name, like, okay, any entry level car. I'm not saying he could go out and buy a fucking a Rolls Royce. What do they call it? The Bentley. Um, it's a Bentley. I forgot the name of it. Beyonce and Jay-Z has one. They got a motherfucking. It's a Rolls Royce, I believe. It's a Rolls Royce, and it can convert into a boat. I think it's called a boat tag or something like that. And it's like that car is like, I think, around $10 million. Like, yeah, they got some cars that's like 10 million, 5 million. Ferrari, they definitely they have Ferrari models, Lamborghini models. They got different car models that, yeah, they like specialty cars, limited editions. They like, yeah, 2 million, 5 million, 3 million, 4 million, 6 million. They got cars that's like $10 million, like a Bugatti. Like Bugatti has cars like that. It's like $10 million. I don't like, it's cars that's expensive. It's some cars, it's like, I think it's, I don't know what the most expensive car is, but they got cars that's like $10 million and shit like that. Like like 5 million, definitely. They got Lamborghinis and Ferraris with, like, they got like V12s, um five, like not even 500, like 900 horsepower, twin turbo, engine, um, dual exhaust, 0 to 60 in 1.5 seconds and shit like that, or like 1.9 seconds. Like, I mean, like, they got cars, man, it's very, very expensive. But I'm like, he can get, I just said like this, he can get any car that he want that's like a typical car, like, or even like a Benz. He go get a brand new Benz, brand new Porsche, you know, he can get like an entry level Lambo truck. Like the Lambo trucks is like 300 grand. Fucking the Ferrari truck. I think the Ferrari truck is like 500. Cause they just can't, like, they, Ferrari is like late to the party. They just started making trucks. Um, I think even a Ferrari, like Ferrari has, they have a new truck that's all electric. They got an electric truck. It's, some people don't like it. But I don't know. But like, yeah, like he can get an expensive car if he wanted to. But he don't do that. He get used cars. And he try to hold on to them for like ever in a fucking day. Like this nigga, he'll go take his car. It don't matter if the fucking engine is going out, the timing chain. Man, that motherfucker go put that motherfucker in the shop. Like, okay, he's got like an old ass truck that's like probably a 2013 or something like that, 2012 or something. Man, that dude spent like, he said he spent like 4 grand on fixing the timing chain or some crazy shit. I'm like, dude, won't you just go get you another fucking car? But in his mind, that's just, he wants to save money. He's all about saving money to a certain extent, and it's like, yeah, he can't, like I, he just a different type of person. Like, I do believe certain people are either savers or spenders by just their personality. Like, I know my personality, I'm a spender. I'm not necessarily a saver. That's one of the reasons why I created the millionaire savings plan. I needed to trick myself in order to save money. Like the thing is like, for example, let's say a TV went out, right? What I would do typically, within probably, I'll just say less than a week, I'll have another fucking TV. Guaranteed. Probably in the next 2 or 3 days. Typically. I go out right away, give me another TV. My uncle, my uncle could wait years without getting a TV. And he got the money. A TV is shit to him. It's been, man, he's to sell TVs. He used to work at, like, before it was Circus City, it was called another name. It was called Highland or something like that. Back in the 80s, he used to sell like appliances, TVs, microwaves, ovens, like basically at like Best Buy, they have like an appliance section, right? He's selling appliances, TVs and everything. And it's like, man, I mean, that's just a different type of personality. Like, I don't really have patience like that. I mean, like, I just rather just move on with it. Like, it'll mess my, like, I'll be in the bed sleeping, thinking about, like, damn, I need to get another TV. I just went out and got a refrigerator. I didn't pay that much money. I got like a used refrigerator on Facebook Marketplace. It was like $40. It was like an old white fridge. Like, man, that fridge, my fridge went out. It was actually my grandparents' fridge. that shit was like, it was like they had that damn refrigerator for over a decade. It just recently went out. And it was out for like, I think in that case I definitely waited like a week. Cause I wanted to see if like, cause it was times it'll cut off and cut back on, but that thing just never came back on. And um man, I just went out and got another fucking refrigerator. If it was probably him, he probably wouldn't even got no refrigerator. He just would have just unplugged the thing and just left it there. I don't know. I mean, that just it just that's just how he is. But I mean, he went through some tough ass times. He was homeless. I mean, shit, he did a full enlistment in the Navy. Um, he was in Haiti and all across the Mediterranean and shit. Cause he was in a because when you're on the East Coast, when you station like in Virginia on the East Coast, you go to the Caribbean and you go to the Mediterranean and you go to Western Europe. I was in the West Pack, so I was in the like far West Pack. So I was in Japan. I was stationed in Japan. So you go on certain tours depending on where you station at. So like if you station in the West Pack, you usually gonna go to like Guam, you're gonna go to Australia, Korea. You used to go to Philippines, but the Filipino the Philippine government Filipino government Philippines government they complained to the Navy, and they didn't accept them in port anymore. They stopped before I was in the military, before I was in the Navy, they stopped US Navy access to their ports. Um I don't know. But yeah, you go to Korea, you go to Okinawa, um not really Okinawa, because Okinawa is just like right. It's like the island connected south, but you go to basically Korea, um, the Middle East, Australia, and that's pretty much it. I mean, we had to go to the fucking coast of Pakistan because I was in during 9/11, so we went past. We went to the coast of Pakistan to drop off some SEALs to go into Afghanistan, and that was a tip. But I mean, that's why we're stationed, on the West Coast, because everything that happens on the West Coast, that's where the ships go. But I mean, yeah, like he's basically living a hard life, man. You're gonna be able to deal with hardships, usually, like, I mean, my uncle, my mom, and all, my aunts and uncles, like, they really like had a hard life than I did. Because see, like, I kind of like my parents, they got their shit together when I was like a little kid. And we like, when I was like a little kid, like, yeah, I remember living in the projects and shit. Not living in the projects, but living near the projects. Like, I used to live like right down the street from the projects, and in the low end in Chicago, like on 40th off King Drive. And man, it was like to describe it, you have to watch Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Jungle. That was literally how that was literally where I lived. Like, it was just like that, broken glass everywhere. People live around them. People just don't care. It's like, man, it was like abandoned cars and inflated tires and glass everywhere. And man, it was a ghetto, man. It was a fucking, slums and shit. But the tripped out thing is, right, about time, time and value, right? So I mean, like, we moved from there in the 85, and then moved to the burbs. You know what I'm saying? And I lived a black suburban life from like 1985 all the way to, shit, the 2000s. So I mean, like basically my aunts and uncles, my mom, when they lived basically in like public housing. Like they lived in like a like basically low income housing, like basically not the projects but like row houses. Like they lived in some place in it's still there, but it's not called, I don't think it's it was called Princeton Park, but I don't know if it's called that now or still called that. But it's basically like it was like low income housing. And they were like, yeah, they were poor. My grandfather worked for Ford. My grandma stayed at home. She was like a stay-at-home wife, and you know, they were like, basically surviving off of his paycheck. And then he got sick and everything. But yeah, they didn't start getting money. Like in my aunts and uncles don't like my grandfather that my grandmother married after my biological grandfather, because a few things, but he the one that got them out of low income housing. Like he got them from living. It was literally like their reality was like, it was the equivalent of like the sitcom The Jefferson, like moving up to the east side. Like literally that was their life. Like before, they was like living in low income housing, basically on welfare. Then the mom worked for an entrepreneur and got married to him, and then next thing you know, like they living in an upper middle class South Side enclave, and going to high school around white people and Mexicans and stuff. And it's like, I mean, you know, they had a better life because of him. Like if it wasn't for my grandfather, who knows what could have happened. Like they probably been in a gang, you know, living in low income housing, basically trying to survive, like trying to make their way out of the Princeton Park, which was basically it's still to this day, it's literally no place you want to be. No place you to this day you don't want to walk around that area. If you walk around that area, you some bad might happen to you. You might not make it out of there. You know, and it probably wasn't that bad back then, but it wasn't a nice place to be. Like it wasn't, everybody basically was poor. You know what I'm saying? Some people had a little bit more money than others, but people lived there because it was cheap to live there. And it's like, yeah, like, I mean, I had told my uncle, like, I'm like, if it wasn't for my granddad, he would have y'all would have still been living in Princeton Park, man, poor as shit. And then he kind of had an aha moment. He understood, what I was, where I was coming from. But like, yeah, like, that man, that man's entrepreneurship helped you have a better life. I mean, basically, what I'm saying? Like, but the thing is, like, yeah, I didn't have to, like, they dealt with that living in low income housing from like when they all the way to like almost to they were a preteen. So I didn't live in the ghetto that long. God, I mean, by the time I was 5 years old, like I was already in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that's where I pretty much stayed. And then things got better. More money was made. And things got better. And then we moved to a better suburb, and what I'm saying, like it just, yeah, I didn't really have to deal with much of what they had to deal with. Um, I didn't have to go to the grocery store with a card and some food stamps. You know what I'm saying? With a list of groceries. Like I didn't have to do that. Like, not saying my parents was balling out of control, but they worked. They were probably, I would say, they were probably like lower middle class. And then when they got older, got more solidified in their career, they were like middle class. I can go to the mall and my mom would give us all $100 and we have like a bag full. I mean, this was the 90s and shit. So I mean, like I'm an old fucker, so like she gives $100, man. We come back with like 3 or 4 outfits, couple shirts, little knickknacks, you know what I'm saying? Like we go basically fucking um a shopping spree. You know what I'm saying? Like I know it's hard to fucking believe that shit now. Like you talking about, like I'm like a boomer. It's like boomer talk. You know, my mom gave me $100, and then I went clothing shopping. Like I literally went, like that's enough money to go on a shopping spree. The 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like that just goes to show, like the power of inflation. Because literally I can do that same experiment with my daughters. I can get them $100 each. I mean, well, they little kids, so it'll be easy for them to get cheap clothes because like little kids' clothes are cheap as shit. But like let's just say they were teenagers, like they be struggling to just get one outfit, some shirts and pants. $100 back in the fucking mid 90s. um the average pair of jeans, like you can get like cheap jeans for like less than $10 or $10 brand new. I know it's hard to believe, like you you can get a shirt, for like a premium shirt was like the same thing as the jeans, like $20, you know 10 bucks. You very much could even get a shirt for like $5 or the clearance rack for like $5 or $7. And I'm talking like Macy's, or actually it wasn't even like it was. I remember it used to be called Marshall Fields. Then Macy's bought it out. I think Macy's is out of New York. Like they came and bought Marshall Fields out, which was like the equivalent of Macy's, but it was in Chicago. It was called something totally. It was a different brand. A historical brand from Chicago, by Marshall. Marshall Fields basically was a person, or I think it was two people. I don't know. Um, but basically, it was like a kind of like a. It was just kind of how Macy's is. Like Macy's is it's kind of like a low premium department store. It's not like Nordstrom's. Nordstrom's would be considered. Nordstrom's and Bloomingdale's would be considered like higher premium. Like clothing, like that's where you go get your Louis Vuittons and shit. $1,500. Like it was $1,500 years ago. Louis Vuitton's probably more. The red bottoms and shit. Like they probably more than that now. Like they probably like 2,500 now. I mean, like that's where you get your like your Gucci shoes for like $800 and all that type of shit. Bloomingdale's and Nordstroms and shit like that. But like yeah, Macy's is like you get some gas, some Jabos. Back then, like you get your polos, your Ralph, your Hugo Boss, um, Calvin Klein, Levi, all of that type of shit. So it was, it was, brand new. I mean, JC Penney's was probably more known for like kind of like they had some of the stuff that like Macy's had, but it was like more of the cheaper end. It was like maybe stuff was just kind of clearanced or just different clothes from different brands. I don't know, but like yeah, like back then, yeah, you can get 5 outfits for $100 if you manage it. Like you can get okay, you can get like back in the mid 90s, you can get for $100, you can get about 3 or 4 premium outfits. And when I say premium outfits, I'm talking about like some Guess jeans with a Guess shirt, some Jabot jeans, with like I know some of these brands, like if you wear it now, people call you a crackhead, but like I mean, this was like you know definitely in fashion in the mid 90s for sure. Like you was the shit if you had these brands on, like Guess, Jabot's, um, you know, Levi's was like just general, like that was just an old brand, but like they had Hill Figure was pretty popular, Nautica, what I'm saying? Even though they still around, but they was very, very popular in the 90s. Hill Figure and Nautica, you know. Um I remember like they had a Nautica van, like Mercury made actually it was like a thing where it was a Nautica van, and it was like limited edition. They only made like one van, and it was actually a Nautica. It was like because basically the exterior was designed by Nautica, and they had like this. Yeah, it was a Mercury van, and they called it a Nautica van. Like Biggie, I think he rapped about it in one of his songs or something. Either Biggie or the Junior Mafia or something like that in the 90s. But like yeah, like I mean yeah, you could get like 3 or 4 premium outfits for $100. Now you'll be hard pressed to get one. you Man, I mean, like you'll be hard pressed to get one outfit for like in order to get like you'd have to go to like one of those. Like I noticed in some malls they have these like foreigners, and it's like usually like Indians, and they selling like the clothes are not necessarily bootleg clothes, but they're like just some made up type shit. Like it's like hood clothes that ain't no, it's like off brand, is no brand whatsoever. It's just like China merch. It's like a whole store is a bunch of, they have like a shirt with a dollar sign and some rhinestones in it. Like I mean, even they want a lot of money for their clothes. Like, so it's like, I don't know, like you probably can maybe get 3 outfits if you get some cheap stuff, like some like off brand. I don't know, but like yeah, like I mean, $100 just ain't. You probably need $500 to have that same experience. Now you'll probably need $500. I mean, $100, man. I remember my mom like give us $100. Quite a few times I had enough money, I would stretch it out to get like a couple outfits, and then I would even get some shoes. I'd have no this shit. This shit sound funny, man. Talking about this shit, like it's just like it's like I'm old enough to remember buying gas for a gallon. it's like it's like man, I feel like I'm a boomer. Like it's like I got boomer experiences and shit. Like on I mean on everything I love. I used to be able to. I remember going because I was going to school down in Champaign, Urbana, Illinois, and it was like 160 miles from Chicago. And I remember you could put $10 in the tank. I had an old 1987 Toyota Camry. You could put $10 in the tank, and that was enough. to make it all the way from Champaign to Chicago and damn near back. And then you have to probably put maybe $5 in the tank to get back to, I've done that plenty of times. Just put $5 more in the fucking tank, and then you get back to Champaign. Like, you can't do no shit like that now. Especially now. Gas is like $5 a gallon. It's going down because they trying to work shit out with the fucking, Iran and all that. But like, man, I mean, you be lucky to go. I'd be lucky to fucking with 2 gallons of gas, basically. I can what? Just I could probably make it from Chicago. I might be able to make it a little bit past Kankakee before I have to get my ass to a fucking gas station, which is like only like 40 miles away. 40, about 40 miles away. Give or take. But like, yeah, man. I mean, the thing is, it's like, yeah, it's I had a pretty privileged life, man. Compared to my aunts and uncles when they were young. So, like, it's and my cousins, shoot, they even was more privileged. Shit, them motherfuckers, they never had no struggle really. Like they dad always like they dad basically worked in business, and he had real estate and everything. Man, they used to go traveling to overseas, like go on European vacations and um going to the islands, and what I'm saying, going to Disney World, Disneyland, and all that shit. They were spoiled, right? I wasn't jealous, but I was like, God damn, these motherfuckers are spoiled. you know, like they used to go, like, man, they would go. They were so used to going to water parks everywhere they wanted to go. Like they wanted to get in, like they were like pool junkies. I'm not talking about like shooting pool. They wanted to, anywhere they went, they had to get in the pool. They were so used to going to getting in pools, like cause everywhere, like they man, just water parks, every water park you could name. I mean, they would literally, because they lived in Minnesota, and they would, like, come from Minnesota to Chicago for a vacation. Every time they would go from Minnesota, I mean, to Chicago to Minnesota, they'll stop at Wisconsin Dells for like a day or two, and then they would go to it's like a water park, a big ass water park. Like them fuckers was spoiled. Like, man, they were like, they ain't have nothing on nobody else. Like they were like spoiled to the core. Like the experiences they had probably even poor any race, like children, like whatever, they had a better experience. Like they had like it was almost like they were rich, like because the amount of vacations and the variety of places they used to go, like it just, man, it was just crazy. What I'm saying? But everybody has it, better than, some other person. I mean, it just it is what it is. But I mean, they struggle now. I think they struggle real, like both of them right now, they struggling hard because, like, they would just, I think, because they, like, I think, like, spoiled kids do have adjustments that they have to make. Like it is a lot of I would even say I'm guilty of this myself. Like it is something when kids are, when they grow up and they're spoiled, they're entitled, they get an entitlement, and then they believe that entitlement spreads into all aspects of their life, and it doesn't. The world doesn't owe you anything. It's not going to give you anything if you don't take care of yourself. If you don't pay for this or pay for that, it's not going to be paid. Nobody's going to do anything. Like a lot of people that are spoiled, that grew up spoiled, they have a hard time adjusting to the realities of life, to the hardships of life. You know what I'm saying? They go out on their own, and it's like, yeah, because the reason why you went on vacations is because your parents, you know, like they did all of the things that they did to be able to afford all of everything that you experience. You have to go out and start from zero, because it's like, yeah, like they had, it's not like they were rich to the point where like they had an inheritance or anything like that. Nah, like they still, which is most very typical, where it's like your parents got a little money, but you don't have no money. You got to go to college, go to get a job, blah, 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 blah. You got to go get it out the mud and start from zero, because it's like, you got, it's not like, they parent like his aunt. I mean, his aunt, which is, I mean, his mom, which is my aunt, um, his father, they, his father worked. His mom was a stay at home wife. So it's like, he had a good job and he had a good career, to he stopped working, um, and retired. Like he was like working at a bank or something. Like he was like, a high level bank manager, like vice president or something. So he made very good money, but it's like, yeah, it wasn't like he was rich. Like he was like sitting on millions of dollars or some shit like that. Like, and they had some type of inheritance. No, it was like the expectations was they had to go out and get it because it was no other choice. It was they weren't set up like that. Like it wasn't no situation where they was gonna get a monthly stipend or something like that. Nah, it was like, yeah, like they lived a good had a good house and lived a good life, but you that's their parents live that. They have to go out whatever they want or anything close to that. They have to go out and get, and yeah, they struggle. They still struggling with that. You know what I'm saying? And and just dealing with health issues as well, because you get sick and then is trying to recover from all that is just tough. But like, yeah, like, man, they struggle like a motherfucker, because like, yeah, like you might have everything. You might grew up just have all kind of stuff, and it's a different layer of rich to where, okay, you turn 18, now you got a monthly stipend from your inheritance. Like most, that level of rich, less than probably 1%, or not even 1%. I would say like definitely less than 10% of people have that reality. Like that's like less than 10% of people just as a whole have a reality to where they actually get a monthly stipend from some type of trust fund. Like they get $5,000 or $50,000 or whatever, $500,000 a month, and it's from their late grandfather, and he owns some company or some. Like, I mean, even if it's like your parents just give you some money every month, like it just, people don't really have it like that, where they don't set, like, the expectations is they're not gonna do that, and then their children are not, is not gonna even expect that either. Like, no matter how good your dad work or your mom or whatever, like, your parents is probably gonna help you with college. They gonna help you with some bills, emergencies, and that's pretty much it, which is cool, because it's like, some people don't even have that. So, but like, yeah, you out here, like you got to go out, whatever you want, close to whatever you grew up, you got to go out and get that, and then you see how tough it is to actually get that, and starting out from zero and everything, and like I said, like your parents gonna pay for college, and if you need some money, they gonna give you some money. Like, it could be a monthly thing. Like, I remember I was away at college. My mom helped me pay my rent. She gave me money. My dad used to send me money. It's like it was a thing where it wasn't no routine thing, but it was like, okay, after maybe I have a few months where everything cool. Like I go like 2 or 3 months and I'm good. Then on the fourth month, man, I need $100. You know, um, my mom sent me $100, and then but she was routinely while I was in school, she was giving me rent money. Like my mom used to pay my rent when I was in college. When I was down in Champaign, she paid for my college. Man, I mean, my mom, shit, really, to be honest, like, my mom helped me, like, she helped me, like, all the way in my 30s. Like, I remember my mom used to help me pay my car payments. I mean, she helped me pay my tuition, um, paid my past due tuition so I can get my transcripts. And she would give me money for college, for books. I mean, everything. Like, what I'm saying, like, pay rent for me. Like, I mean, like, yeah, like, I really, to be honest, like, because my mom really, like, really went out her way to, like, make sure I had everything I needed to have. Like, I mean, like, I had it, really good. um their parents, they probably did similar things. They could live with their parents, but it wasn't like, it wasn't no expectations where they was just gonna get like some monthly amount or something like that. You know, it was just, expectations was you gonna go out and you gonna pay everything, and you gonna do the best you can. If you need some help, if you need a SOS, or got an emergency, just send out an SOS. I'll help you out. It was that type of thing. Even just with that, like, it's very difficult. Trying to make some type of way, like your parents did. It's challenging. His dad used to be his dad used to invest in real estate. His father, they father, my cousin's father, he had properties. He would collect rent, and like, it's like, some of the things that you seen your parents do, you probably should do the same things. Like, if you seen your dad was successful, and you out here getting rocked, you should do the same thing your dad did. Buy some buildings, buy some property, and then collect rent. Cause that worked. So now you trying to do something that your dad didn't do. Your dad didn't just rely on just a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was just it. Like, your dad had properties that he was collecting rent. He had rental income and his income from his job. You try to do everything with just income, and that shit ain't working. I mean, like, that shit is not working, man. That shit, you know, it just ain't working, and it's like he already seen the blueprint. Like, my dad didn't own no real estate. My dad wasn't no landlord, or my dad didn't flip no properties. I didn't see my dad flip no properties. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I did, I probably would do the same thing. You know, because shit, you see success, and your parents are showing you success. Like, they're showing you what they do to make a living, and you don't do it. Like, I mean, that's probably where they messed up. They both messed up, because they probably should have did the same thing their daddy did. Like, They just only worked. They didn't get involved in real estate. They didn't buy no building or nothing like that, no properties. You know, and I think that's probably where they messed up at. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, I mean, I just I've been talking a lot. I mean, I've been over here, shooting the breeze. But I think, yeah, in my opinion, Stoics do hold the key. They hold the key to the future. Um, and I think that you know, if you are discouraged by the current, times that we have, and millennials and Gen Zers. I mean, like I remember I used to look at like, okay, like boomers. I remember when I saw a boomer in the market crash in 2008, the Great Recession, right? I used to scratch my head. I was like, I remember seeing an old dude that looked like pretty much like a boomer um buy a brand new car in a recession. And I was like, I was thinking to myself, like, it just puzzled me because it's like, you know, people losing their jobs. I was, at the time out of work and looking for a job, and everybody's struggling. You hearing horror stories and people losing their house and all this shit was going on. And I see this old dude with a brand new car, and I just never, I never forget that shit because it's like, you gotta understand that dude at that time. This was like 2008, right? He's probably like 60 some years old. So he was probably born in like either 1940 or sometime in 1950 or something. He went through worse shit than this. He probably got a fucking retirement. He got retirement income. He probably got, if you've been working since you were, since the night, okay, it's 2008. You've been working since the at least 1970s. You've been working for, 30, 40 years. You should have something by now. You should have money all over the place. You should have all kind of assets and collectibles or some shit that's valuable. You should have something for yourself by the time you like in your 50s or 60s. Like, no matter what the fucking whatever is going on with the economy, because you've already worked. You already put in work. Like, that's why older people tend to have money because they've worked so long. They have accumulated, assets and paid off stuff and all of that. So they have, I mean, not all of them, certain, man, it's a whole bunch of broke ass boomers. I mean, it's a bunch of broke boomers now. Don't give me, man. I was just at the dude was probably on drugs or something, but I was at the Family Dollar. I mean, not Family Dollar. What is it called? Dollar Tree, and it was some old boomer. He was either a boomer or old Gen X, and he was holding the door. And he's holding the door so he can get some change, so he can ask for some change when you come out. But I'm like, this dude probably a boomer. You know what I'm saying? Probably. I mean, he was old as shit. Like, I think he probably was a boomer. But the thing is like, you don't know. I mean, but like, the thing is like, it's a lot of old people was fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he probably was on drugs, like, because drugs will fuck you up like that, where you definitely you you'll not be yourself for sure. And a lot of homeless people are on drugs. But I don't know. I mean, it's something that you hit that to the point where you that damn chopped that you out there on the street. You opening up doors for Dollar Tree. You the you the you the Dollar Tree doorman now. You the door. What you do? What you do for a living? I'm I'm the doorman for Dollar Tree. I shouldn't be laughing at this shit, but I mean, you know, I mean, the thing is like, yeah, like I think most people that are homeless definitely are on drugs. I mean, definitely. I believe probably two out of every homeless person is probably either on drugs or a combination of drugs and have some type of mental illness, severe mental illness. But I mean, the whole point is, it's quite a few older people that have accumulated some things that they're at the point where they like 60 or they late 50s and stuff like that. I mean, and yeah, like they can go out at that time, 2008. A lot of shit was cheap as shit because um the market literally collapsed. Like that was the best time to buy a house. Like you can get a man, okay, the what a house cost back then, like a deal back then, I remember you can get, okay, it's like it would be fit for the equivalent of something that would probably be either 100, about right now about 135,000, you can get for $15,000 back in 2008, or 25,000. It's because the market was flooded with houses because everybody was fucking losing their houses. It was like like a cluster. It was like a outbreak of foreclosures. It was like a whole bunch of people were going into foreclosure. Like it was like so many foreclosures. It was just like crazy. Like that's one of the reasons why so many abandoned houses all across America. That's one reason of many reasons, but a major reason that there are so many abandoned houses in America, throughout America, because of foreclosures, because of 2008 basically mortgage collapse. Literally, not making this shit up. And the thing is that back then in 2008, man, you can get you can get a building, you could get a building, a two flat building for like 80 grand. That already has tenants in it in the Chicagoland area. Like that same house now, I mean the same building now, that's fixed up, fully fixed up with tenants in it. They gonna want like probably $400,000 or $500,000 for that building. And if it's in a decent neighborhood, okay, let's say it's South Shore. They gonna want at least 300. I mean 280, the lowest. 280, $280,000. So I mean, yeah, it was just like cars were cheap too. So it just made sense. Like it was a good time to buy a car. It was a good time to buy a house because everything, hardly, it was not that many people that had money. I mean, like it was a lot of people that had lost their job, that lost their house through foreclosure, and the money supply, like it was like very, basically it was a situation where a lot of people just, the money supply was it was just not that many people that had money. It got shrunk. The money supply shrunk as far as the people that had money or had access to money. Because if you don't have a job, and definitely if you had a foreclosure, you're not buying no cars, you're not buying houses, you ain't buying nothing hardly. And it's like basically you don't at some point or not, you don't have that much money either. So it was like it was a big deal, man. That's why I constantly talk about that period of time. That's the period of time where I just changed my whole life, as far as I started to basically, like, I decided to be a financial expert at that period of time, 2008. I chose to, if at the very least, to understand why that happened, and when it possibly can happen again, and how to secure myself from that situation. It's like a lot of things. Like basically, I tapped into, because I knew a little bit about finance, but after that period of time, I was like, man, I'm this never is gonna blindside me again. And I tried to learn everything I possibly could about the economy, every financial book I can think of, from Rich Dad Poor Dad, Millionaire Next Door, Rob, um, the um, Richest Man in Babylon, all of these books, man, you name it, you know. I my ex-girlfriend had, like, she had a PDF file that I copied from her computer. She had her, because she used to work for basically a broker of investment house, investment bank. So she's basically she was, at one time she was like a investment analyst. So she had like some study material for, I think, her her training for her job. It was a lot of good, like, financial um information on that PDF, and I copied that shit. I still got it. Like, I mean, it's green information as well, because it don't change. It might be rules that change, as far as things like, there's no PDT rule right now. They've eliminated the PDT rule, but, like, I mean, yeah, I was trying to get everything I can get a hold of as far as information, anything to do with finances. um and that's you know it's like the Whitney Houston song, I decided long ago I was gonna, um I forgot how that went. Like, it was like, I mean, it was like something about shadows. Like, but, like, yeah, like, I just, yeah, I just, I didn't want that ever to, I didn't never want to be surprised by that again. Like, I never wanted to think like, I'm just, at that point, it was like I was a sheep. I was a blind sheep that was just following what everybody else was, just scared, watching everybody getting slaughtered, thinking it's the end of the world. And, man, after that, I was like, oh man, this is just, fucking game, or it's just not so much a game, but it was just it's a strategy that the financial system uses. And basically, once they borrow too much money, it basically creates an inflation. um and it basically, then the government does some more financial austerity and pumps some more money and go into more debt, and then eventually, and it's going to cause even more, you know inflation and all of that stuff, and it's like a cycle. And I learned all of these things, and it's just like, I mean, yeah, I'm prepared for financial calamity. I mean, I understand, what to do. Fundamentals that I didn't do before. Like, I remember I never had a budget. I used to wonder why I never had any money left at the end of the week, or at end of the pay period. And it's because I was just basically shooting off the hip. And when you have a budget, you know exactly how many bills you have. You write down all your expenses, and then you know how much you make, and you could see if you had a deficit or you have a surplus. I mean, you should have a surplus, but if you got a deficit, like, meaning all your expenses is more than what you make every month, Okay, you need to try to trim down your budget. You need to, you might want to, man, it depends on your situation. You, some people just overdo, they overdo their expenses. Like, I'll just say, for example, just a general example. You send your kids to private school, and the private school is $1,500 a month, and you got Netflix, you got cable TV service. Your cable TV service is, like, with your cable TV internet, is 300, and it averages around $360 a month. Um you have two car notes, one for you, one for the wife. They total around $1,200 a month. Like, see, it's things like that where, I would tell you, for one, you gonna probably have to bring. I know you don't want to do it. I know why parents want to send their children off in private school. I understand that, but you gonna have to probably put your kids in public school. You're already paying taxes, for your out of your mortgage. That is, $1,800 a month. Um, but here's the thing, you know, you'll be saving $1,500. You're gonna call tomorrow and cancel your cable TV service, and you're just going to get basic internet, and it shouldn't be no more than $100 a month. If they can't get it down to $100 a month, just say you're gonna call. You go get you a prepaid router or gateway somewhere. They sell, like, even Comcast has. They have an internet box, just like prepaid internet. Go get that. That's like $50 a month. So, if you got a phone call to make, and then go get your kid, go register him in public school, get your transcripts and everything. All right. The cars, I want you to pay these cars off or sell these cars. And eventually, um, you know, if you get some, you got enough money, go get you a couple used cars. See, this type of stuff, it'll start arguments. The husband will probably be on board. The wife will be complaining because she ain't gonna want to turn her car in. But that's, it is what it is. We gotta, you know, with doing all of that, you'll save about $2,500. Now you have a 20. Okay, your deficit was about 3 grand every month. Then that's why you always broke, living check to check and everything. Never have no money, right? Because you were running a $3,000 deficit. You found that out just by doing a budget. So now okay, you could cut this, cut that, cut this, cut that, and then you should have a surplus. You should have a certain and that's including your savings, because, like, in my budget, I have savings. I budget savings. So savings is like, I look at savings as a bill. So, like, whatever you save every month or whatever, like, that's including with the surplus. So, like, you really don't, if you really look at it, if you just exclude savings, your surplus is even more. But, like, you include savings in that. So look, savings, and then, like, I got like a rainy day fund. I got, savings. Like, you should have multiple savings account. You should have like three different levels of savings or whatever, or at least four. You should have a change jar. That should, that's got like maybe if over some years of saving change, that should be like anywhere between $200 to $500, or if not more. Get you one of those Hinkley and Schmidt jars of change. Then uh you get you a money book, and a money book can have, it could go from $1 to $100. So when you save $100, from you go from $1 to $100, that's $5,000. That's over $5,000 in the money book. Lock that away somewhere in the safe or something. Then, I mean, you should be doing that until you completed that. Then they got one where you could go from, I think, $1 to 1,000 or something. I don't know. They got different types of money books, different levels of savings. Like, I think that the next challenge is like saving 50,000 or something. But the thing is like, that's a second layer, and that's just money, cash on hand. The third layer is a rainy day fund, one savings account and a money market savings, or savings with interest, high as possible, that you put like $50 in every month. And that's just your rainy day fund. You just put $50 every month. Put $50 with the equivalent of um a nice bottle of liquor or some shit. Some a big ass bottle of Jose Cuervo. You put that in your rainy day fund every month, and that's just money you don't even touch. You look at it maybe every couple months or something, see if it's still growing, whatever. It's like, whatever. It's $50. Every year you put about 500 or 600 bucks in it. It's just a rainy day fund. What is that for? It's just another layer of savings. Okay. After that is you know a savings account that you you save for basically investments. That's your regular savings. That's like you put a higher portion in that. You put like 10% of how much you make. Whatever you make. Like you make $10,000 a month. Put 1,000, save $1,000 in there every month. Shoot over 500 out of your paycheck every time you get paid, and that's your savings account. And it's like, yeah, I mean, with those four layers, it's no way possible. What I've done is literally surgically remove the aspect of you actually being living check to check, because in theory, you got $300 in change in your Hickley and Schmidt jar. Depending on where you at in the money book challenge, let's say you got a couple hundred or 1,000 or two, more in your money book. Your rainy day fund, you got about $900 in it. Your savings account, you got about 15 grand in it. Like, I mean, depending on the situation, I mean, you're not gonna touch your rainy day fund. Your rainy day fund is, that's just something that you trying to grow, like kind of like your change jar. But the thing is you're gonna go into your, savings account, depending on what it is. I mean, depending on what it is, you might just go to your money book. If it's something like all you need to go get a tire, you just go to your money book. Okay, if it's something like, I don't know, something real bad, it's cost like 1,000 or more, you go in your savings account. And then ideally, your checking account should have, basically, your checking account should be a savings account, and like your fifth actual savings account, because in theory, you should have a checking account, as well as a savings account that's a backup, and you should have the most money in that those two accounts. You should probably have at least $10,000 in your checking account, and you should probably have like, maybe another 15 or 20 in your savings account, that is attached to your checking. And that's just to basically make sure your bills are paid and everything, all your expenses are paid every month, and you should have some overages when you got paid, and that's that. Like, at the very least 1,500 in checking, 500 or more, thousand or more in savings. And that's just bare minimum. I mean, that's just to, you're banking your check, your paycheck, is you're saving a portion of that, you're not in the negative or, anything like that. So, like, yeah, I mean, that's, if nothing else, that's how you manage your money. That's the, like, first level of managing your money, and then understanding, you know where your money is actually going, where it's actually working. That's a blueprint from where what your money is doing on a monthly basis, and I mean, it's like, yeah, a lot of people don't have a budget, so, it's like, those are the, like, first steps that you learn, when you learn personal finance. Like, you definitely need a budget, but anyway, I've been on here, talking and rambling, damn near 3 hours. But yeah, man, the thing is that, yeah, I mean, just, keep, keep striving, and putting the effort in, and keep grinding, and, making sure, that you reach your goals, whatever that is. I believe that you will accomplish those. I mean, me personally, like, the hardest things that I wanted to accomplish, because, believe it or not, it's not just money, like, I mean, other things that are more valuable than money. Like, for example, my children are more valuable than money will ever I mean, I could ever achieve, like, or ever dream of. Like, my children are more valuable than that, and I already have them. I mean, I already have, like, healthy, vibrant, beautiful children, and I mean, like, I've already accomplished the hard part in my theory, as far as how I look at it. And it's like, yeah, money is like the cherry on top. Like, I mean, like, yeah, like, it's I believe that you could get money, but, healthy children, you know, that's from your offspring, from your lineage, man, that's a lot more difficult to accomplish, and I've already achieved that. So, it's like, that, if not nothing else, is more valuable than money. But yeah, I think that I'll ultimately achieve my goals. I'm working on them. I'm working on them, day by day, so, but yeah, that's all I have. Hopefully you got something out of this. Uh